as agents, obviously there's a bias for us to recommend using an agent, right? It's our livelihood, but there's strong debates for why we should be using an agent on the buy and the sell side. And I think we have plenty of stories and examples to use of when people didn't use an agent and it didn't go well, right? Do you have anything that comes to mind on the buy side? Okay, how about this?
I've never been in a scenario where I know of somebody who's bought a home unless it was a FSBO, for sale by owner, and they were able to, find a personal connection and then also align their own attorney and get somebody to draw up the contract for them, and they did it amicably. But generally, that doesn't work out well.
Right.
So
I think that a lot of people just assume that the list price is what it is, right? And people that maybe aren't as experienced with real estate thinking they can represent themselves, which they are totally allowed to do, right? That is totally legal and it does happen. But I feel like when you listen to the general public talk, they generally have some rules that don't apply to real estate. For instance, with the list price, they say, oh, just offer $10,000 less, right? Or just offer 5% under the list price. And this is more so when it's a balanced market. But that's not a good rule of thumb because you don't know where the seller's pricing it at, right? We know if it's overpriced or underpriced, right? So just following that blanket rule is not going to serve you well as a buyer that's not repped.
yeah. And on the selling side, I think if you're trying to do it on your own without a realtor representing you, there's that, antiquated train of thought that let's just, list $15,000, $25,000 higher than where we think we'll land just to allow for room for negotiation.
Right.
Don't do that.
That's not a smart strategy.
No, and when you do that, you are not showing the public value, right? Like the main thing that we want to do when we're marketing properties, the number one most important thing to do is pricing. You can market a property all day long, as hard as you want, in every avenue possible. The number one thing that is going to get people through the door is where you price your home. So you end up going $15,000, $20,000 over thinking that you've got wiggle room for negotiating. Well, the market is going to respond to that one way or another, and you're going to find that out very quickly. How long do you want to wait for that? Do you want to chase the market downward? Probably not. That then tells a property history story that makes people question, what's wrong with this place?
I mean, even little things like instead of listing at 500,000, you list at 510,000. Okay, you list just a little bit higher, but now you're kind of just cutting off those people that maybe have only been searching up to 500,000. Right? There's a lot of argument over that bridge theory of where you should price it at. Right? I'm of the school of thought where you should price it right on the number. Right? We talk about like pricing on the quartile a lot. If you're right around like an even 500, 525, 550.
Well, those are generally the search parameters that, buyers set up when they are trying to understand what their affordability is.
Yeah.
They're not looking at 519.
Right. And I think there's definitely reasons to price it around those numbers, not on the quartile. But the point being is that, right, when people have their search set up for that upper limit or lower limit, right, if we list at $499,999, all right, it's not a can of soda, right? It's a piece of property. Somebody that was starting their search at 500,000 may not see it,
right?
Especially if they're unwrapped.
And that 499,999, if it was 500,000, would sell like that to that buyer who's now missed out on.
Right?
That.
They're like, wow, this is a deal, right? If that's where their search is starting, but they might have missed it if they don't have an agent looking for them, right? But on the sell side, the one thing I wanted to touch on was I've talked about one of these stories before. I have a few of them, but the one being that a client was considering selling. We had been talking about selling for a while, and a repair person said they'd offer them X amount, right? I think it was around 525,000. And I told them, I was like, listen, you guys are going to be able to sell in the hottest time of the year in the best sellers market we've ever seen in our lives, right? You're looking at coming on in the spring of whatever it was, 21, 22, somewhere in there. And you're going to get top dollar. It's going to be much more than that. Trust me. Like, you're going to get more than that. And it's like, it's hard for a real estate agent. Like, yeah, we earn money when we sell houses, right? I'm always looking out for what their best interest is. If I think that 525 was an overpayment, if it's worth 500, I said, yeah, sell it for 525 and make that money, right? But I knew it was well worth over that. We ended up having multiple offers, I think 6 offers, and selling it for 600,000.
Right. So then the net walkaway price for the seller ends up being way more than they would have ever expected,
After
even
commission too.
with commission
Right.
included. So you just want the representation, full stop. We're professionals in what we do. Am I representing my clients from an attorney perspective? No, I didn't go to law school.
Right.
Hire a professional.
Right.
Trust the process.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around because it seems like there's conflicting interest, right? Or what's the word I'm looking for? A conflict of interest, because we make money from this, right? But we have a fiduciary duty to our clients to do what is right for them. And I have had it in the past where I've said, like, listen, this is the route to take, or I've cut commission for some kind of reasons, such as somebody came through unrepped on one of my listings. They said, we'll take care of our own. They were the only offer. They're like, we'll take care of our side. I have some experience with real estate. And like, we'll just ask for no commission. And I said, okay, because we were at that point offering a commission to any buyer's agent. So I went to my sellers and I said, hey, they're going to offer $10,000 under list price. Let's drop the commission. I'll update the paperwork. You won't have to owe a buyer's agent any commission. Drop it by $10,000. It's net the same for you. And we got a deal, right? And so that happened. I'm not going to say to them, hey, they're going to offer you under 10 or 10,000 under price. That's a great price. Take it. And not mention the part about the commission and just pocket the whole amount. That's
Right.
unethical.
Right.
And these were friends of mine too, but I mean, that would be anyone, but especially with friends, like how crummy would I feel, right, if I wasn't upfront with them about that. So it ended up working out. It's a win-win for all parties involved.
I think also who you work with and who you choose to represent you matters.
Well, yeah, we say that a lot.
Yeah, but
Jeez.
not everybody thinks that.
I know.
And not all of the agents in this industry operate the same way. Mm-hmm. Maybe their own personal code of ethics is not what they're clicking the button on.
Yeah.
When we are going through what is right for our clients or not.
There's one situation I was in with buyers that I was referred to them by a previous client, and they seemed a little bit skeptical about using an agent. And I always love when there's a situation that comes up where it's like, I can just win their trust right here, right now. And then it's just locked in for us, right? And it's like, that just makes my job a lot easier once they know they can trust me. So I hope that there's something wrong with the first place, right? And there was with this first place that we saw together. I was like, listen, I'm not a fan of this location because of its proximity to this intersection. And there were some things within the building that gave me some concern over how it was built, when it was built, right? Potential leaks, potential water issues. I was like, I don't see this being a great buy. And I kind of talked them out of considering it. And I could tell from that point forward that they were like, okay, we can trust him, right? And I don't want to like toot my own horn, but that is part of the job is convincing people that, listen, you can trust us. We have your best interest in mind. I'd rather earn no commission than to have someone lose faith in me, right? Or not trust me.
Well, and do you remember the property where we went on a listing appointment together, and it was a great home, but it was not in a great location. Mm-hmm. And the sellers were very proud of what they were selling, and we had basically had it locked in. and it was great, and it seems like we were going to be the ones representing them in this sale. And then after a couple discussions over some really small, minuscule things in terms of marketing, etc., they didn't like what we were asking for in commission. They ended up going with another agent, and when that home went to market, it was it was over $50,000 over where we had recommended.
I think it was even more than that.
Even more than that?
I think it was around 60,000 higher than what we recommended listing at.
Especially for the time of year and
the location.
The location is the main thing that was taken into consideration. The home was great, but the location was less than ideal.
Yeah.
And then,
it was on busy streets near
a gas station.
And, looking at that, I remember saying to you, I was like, I don't think people are going to like this when they drive up to it, and the place was beautiful, right? It was great. There was a lot going for it, but there were these circumstances that I was like, you cannot compare this the same as something that's sold on a side street.
Even if you're newer construction, even if you have more square footage, all of the things that this home did have, we knew what the value was. Right. And we gave that number to them, and they were seemingly okay with that. They got hung up on commission.
A small amount of commission.
Yeah, small amount of commission breakdown as it pertained to some simple pieces of marketing that were not going to be the make or break in that sale.
Right.
So that one stung a little bit when we lost that. And so what did I do? I stalked it. I watched it.
As we do.
I watched it sit, and I think that thing was on the market for over 100.
It was 6 months at least.
Yeah.
They sold in a bad time of year and got less than what we thought we would have sold for.
And then in the end, they sold for considerably less than what
I would say. I think it was like 20,000 less than what
we recommended initially pricing at. So, again, they used a realtor, but
who knows what that discussion was, right? We can't say for the.
You have to know your worth, and sometimes you have to know when it's okay to walk away.
Yes.